Good afternoon, colleagues. I just want to say that we are joined here today with, you know him as Dean Isaac McCoy, but he is now Vice President of Innovation at Stillman College. Isaac and I are recording this segment as a special presentation for the deans for this topic on AI transformation strategies for business schools. Isaac is going to share the incredible work that's happening at Stillman College, a partnership first model that any HBCU can replicate regardless of budget constraints that we all have had. Isaac, thank you for joining us today, and I give you the floor.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, Dean Rolle, as always, and the energy. So hopefully I can match that with the wisdom. And to my colleagues, I apologize. I cannot be here in person. As you all are hearing this, I am on a plane to South Africa for a couple of projects that we are working on in conjunction with academic institutions and governments around AI education, workforce, development and training. And so really, how did we get here? Dean Rowe set the table. And so one of the things I just want to mention is a quick story arc on Stillman College and what we're doing with AI. And then so this is not something that is just unique to our institution, but one of the things I wanted to highlight is the fact that everyone has a role within the AI space. And so as you'll know, Stillman College is located in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It is not in a tech hub per se. It's not in Atlanta or DC or New York. It is a teaching institution. We do not have an engineering department. We do not have a large or robust computer science department. And so when people said, "How did you get involved in AI?" That's the first places people think is where, the engineering side, the research side, the machine learning side, or deep data analytics. But what we looked at and how it came to be was one summer I was at a professional conference. So it wasn't in higher ed, but it was a private conference for businesses, and they were talking about AI or technology and how it's influencing their various businesses. And so one of the keynotes made a comment, and it was a fireside chat kind of keynote. And so the question was, how do you use AI within your company? And this particular executive said, we don't just use it in one aspect of the company. It's not just in client sales. He mentioned it was in operations, it was in HR, he named every aspect of their company and said it is in every aspect of their company. So I'm sitting in the audience and thinking, if that is and then he ended and said, if every business is not using AI in every aspect of their business, they're going to be obsolete. And so I thought about it from a higher ed perspective and said, where are we using AI? How are we teaching AI? And looking at it from an academic standpoint, an operational standpoint, but then also looking at it from an educational and workforce development, training, and innovation standpoint. And that's when I started to think, who is in, and this was a couple of years ago. So before AI was once again permeated all of our lives and every second of our experiences. This was early on, and I'm thinking, what school is doing anything with AI that's not deep learn like machine learning, really deep research, right? And so I went back to my colleagues, our president and provost, at the beginning of an academic year in August, and I said, "What are we doing, or what are the plans for AI?" Everyone looked literally in this room and said, "I don't know. What should we be doing?" And that's where it started. And so this is the parts where I wanted to talk about how does a school without engineering, without computer science, that's a teaching institution, not only lead in, but lean into and then lead it with AI. And so from a B school standpoint, I looked at it and said, well, these companies, these ideas, these innovations have to scale. So we need to understand what the technology is and then how it applies to everyday problems so that our business school students be it accounting majors, economic majors, marketing majors, supply chain, whatever discipline that they're focused on, how can they help grow AI not only in their companies, but for their companies and for company growth. And so the first part was, how do we now connect to our faculty? Are our faculty not only educated on it, but what are their fears? And so the first thing that we engaged was a several hour conversation with all of our faculty members on just fears. and how they can engage, not telling them what they had to do from an administrative standpoint, not making them fearful of the tool and saying, if you don't do it, you're going to be left behind. This school's going to be better than this. This school's going to be better. It was a personal point of saying, what do you know about it? How comfortable are you with it? And where do we start from there? And so that's actually where we started. And what we
So
got from,
I just want to say the point here is you made it inclusive. You didn't exclude. You didn't say you had to have any kind of learning base. You said we want to start from where you are and we want to go from there. Thank you.
oh yes. So first of all, if this is why I'm glad that you were here, Dean Rose. Like one, to keep the preacher's son focused, but then also bring out those key points that you write into that to next in that margins of your Bible and say, what was that keynote? The inclusivity, right? And I love that you said that because once again, Stillman is inclusive in this entire space, right? Because most of the times you think that AI is always tech. We're not a tech school, but we're still inclusive. There's an opportunity for all of our institutions to get involved. And like I said, so I started with the faculty members to say, how do we now make sure that they feel not only comfortable with the tool, but then feel supported through the tool? And so we did that. And so then when we had some faculty members that were raising their hand saying, I love it, I want to use it more. I'm glad we're getting the green light. Some said, I think it's going to diminish the academic experience. So we got to sit down and talk about that. Why is that? And then we got to share during this conversation, we got to share some of the learning that they saw from other academic institutions, from some of the larger ones and even global academic institutions that were using it, and they were like, "Oh my God, it can help me with the syllabi, or it can help me build case studies that are unique, maybe to a region or in X, Y, and Z." So they were going through, and we were showing examples, and so they were saying, "I can see how it helps me be a better facilitator of learning." So that first of all, open it up. If you're going to help me, I can then help others, and so what that culminated into was not just an internal experience for Stillman. We created a academic curriculum that then we were able to connect with almost 22 HBCUs across the country. That later on that summer to do training for faculty members in AI education, workforce development, and innovation. It was a several week curriculum that led and that culminated into a capstone project. And so one of the things that was such a great highlight for it was the fact that Stillman now was being sought and looked at as a leader in AI. Once again, not in the technical side, but we were now a part of this whole AI ecosystem or boom. And our value add was we are now a teaching institution that's helping other facilitators learn how to use it. So our
So,
business
so,
case
so I
was,
just want to jump in here and get at
yeah.
this point. A lot of times we find that we're so focused on the internal, what we're doing at our institution, we don't take time to look at what other people are doing. So first you looked at the large institutions, then you said we can help other HBCUs. And so that's another point. It's like we are all learning this together. So the more we help each other, the better it's going to be, not just for our faculty, but for the students we serve. I just wanted to make that point.
Oh, and point well made. And so, like I said, you're gonna make it plain. So we're laying out there, and you making this plain, palatable for our colleagues to understand some of the value that all of our schools can have. And that was once again from a business case standpoint. For us, it was once again working with faculty. We were able to raise money to do this training. And when we completed the training, another thing that came out of it was the foundations that had invested in this curriculum design and the training opportunity. We actually paid faculty one to be a part of this training. So it was so easy to go around to our HBCU colleagues, talk to the provosts and presidents. They were ecstatic that we were giving several $1,000s per individual just to participate in training. So that was one. The other part, the foundation said, you're actually multiplying our dollars because now you're reaching several your institutions that we didn't even think about. We were thinking about Stillman. You came back and said, I can now go work with almost 24 institutions, and so it magnified their reach. And so from a business case standpoint, they said, well, now you can. How do we invest in you more to do this on a larger level? Hence why, like now, fast forward 2 years, why I'm on a plane to South Africa, doing it for historically disadvantaged institutions in the country of South Africa, doing using this curriculum and augmenting it to their unique experiences in their culture to deliver this to faculty members throughout several institutions throughout South Africa. And so why this matters is we can have HBCU now has global impact because we leaned into a space that some thought we shouldn't be in because it was supposed to be, once again, heavy tech. And so all of our schools, we have over 100 HBCUs. A lot of them are like Stillman, smaller, private, and or teaching institutions. And so how do we now find the lanes in which we work? And then I'll just mention this because I'll come back to it later, is that one of the terms that you may hear is public interest technology or AI for good or responsible computing. This is another space that we leaned into and we really use a lot of marketing and communications around why HBCUs matter in AI is we were built on social justice, economic mobility, and public interest technology speaks to that. A social justice movement with technology, with economic mobility. We are primed and built to do this work above most institutions across this country. And so, how can we lean into it? And so, a part of that curriculum, we talk about public interest technology, and we can now lean into it. And so, our B school, when we talk about analytics, when we talk about AI, we also talk about we can lean into this responsible justice, equitable AI world, and we know it because we are leaders in that space. And so combining those two from economics to social justice is another space I think HBCUs can carve a unique path in AI.
So before we end it, and we have had a fascinating conversation. We've talked about the curriculum. We've talked about getting it funded. We've talked about the faculty. Let's talk about the students. Could you just share a little bit about the student outcomes and how they have looked at this AI and your ability to bring it to them in the classroom?
Yeah. So I'll tell just a couple more like large anecdotal things. When we had some of our faculty members, not even in School of Business, I'll use a couple of our other departments when they engaged and leaned into using AI, and they actually learned to use our curriculum through that training. So they had enhanced their syllabi to include AI and AI learning and AI adoption within their academic disciplines and course. The scholars literally came back in a lot of our surveys said that this was the most engaging class that they've had at Stillman. And that right there made everyone turn heads and say, students are talking about engaging. And once again, and we know some of our campuses were like, oh my God, our curriculums are stale. How can we use, interactive media? What can we do to get our scholars' attention, right? And how do we use TikTok in classes or whatever it may be, social media? We used AI and they were telling stories using AI. They were using various platforms and now they're celebrated in it and they weren't hiding it. They weren't using it just for outside of academics, but they were now not only using it in an academic setting, they were being invested in to explore and innovate and create. And so the excitement of just allowing them to express themselves through this tool and that it was something that helped their learning was something that, like I said, that first iteration, now it's throughout our campus and our president and leadership is looking at how do we invest in AI platforms and thought processes throughout every operations of our college campus and our scholars were a part of that movement.
Okay, I think this is wonderful. That's a wonderful note to end on. The leadership, the students, and the faculty are not talking about what if, they're talking about how can we do more of it. And that is, and they're not talking about budgets. They're talking about how can we facilitate this in our campus. I think this is just what we needed, a practical, proven model that works with real constraints. And all of the HBCU have constraints. The
Yeah.
partnership approach you've pioneered at Stillman demonstrates that HBCUs don't need massive budgets to lead in AI collaborations. We need strategic thinking and the right partners. Thank you for sharing this with our colleagues across the roundtable about how you did it and how they can do it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.